Coming up on Texas Voices, we sit down with Red Steagall at his Texas ranch. Gather round as he shares stories in one of his favorite poems.
You'll smile and say, boys, that's the fence that me and Shorty built.
Plus,
It just feels like that's the soul of the horse.
Western Artist Lyndon Gaither shows us how he creates a whole new way at looking at cowboy culture through color. We head to the Cowboy Capital of the world to meet hat maker James Andrae, who's outfitting rodeo athletes to hard-working hands.
Creasing hats came natural to me.
And for anyone who has an affection for vinyl, stick around. Tonight's Dixie Chicken story is all about ndon's albums. Texas Voices features the artists, musicians, and creatives of our great state next.
Stoke the fire and keep on digging. Make the most of what you're giving. It may seem cold and it may seem tough. Even steel will bend when you heat it up. You're on the road to better days. If you can outlast the sun and outlast the rain. Ain't a lot of hard lessons made. Let me tell you, son, soon you're gonna show us how it's done.
Howdy, and welcome to the iconic Dixie Chicken, located in the Northgate district of College Station, Texas. I'm Lindsay Lippman. From a cowboy campfire in West Texas to Hollywood, California, Red Steagall is comfortable in both crowds because when Red tells a story, people listen. Stories like hunting for arrowheads when he was a little boy. And you better bet I was hanging on to every word when we visited his Texas ranch.
I crave the open spaces where the sky is blue and wide. Somewhere west of Wall Street is where my heart and soul reside. Thanks for writing. And I used to think, Mother would say, quit daydreaming.
Uh-huh.
Well, I was daydreaming because I was creating things in my mind.
Exactly.
And that's what my whole life has been creativity.
And I have to say thank you for who you are and what you do, because you literally, for me, invented the type of storytelling that I hold very dear to my heart. So thank you for just being a storyteller through and through. Yeah.
We've been on the air for 13 years with Somewhere West of Wall Street.
Yeah, I love that title, by the way.
Thanks for riding along with us as we explore another tale somewhere west of Wall Street.
But some of the stories have just been phenomenal. And things that you wouldn't think about and you didn't know. Like there's a place called the Ludlow Massacre in the coal mines of Colorado. And I changed it to the Colorado Coal Mine Wars because the Ludlow Massacre was too rural.
Yeah.
But in going through that museum, I realized that John Rockefeller Jr. actually changed the way the coal mine owners treated their help after that. Because then they started creating a place for them to live, gave them health care, and a lot of things that made life more comfortable for those employees.
And not every story is going to be a good story, but there's always a lesson to learn in anyone's story, really.
Well, I've had to live with my life. I had polio when I was 15, so I couldn't play football and do the things that I really wanted to do.
Yeah.
Couldn't be a veterinarian.
Right.
So I learned to adapt. But instead of making that a negative thing, I took the positive things out of it. And so I've done that all my life. So I like to take these stories and turn them around and show you what the positive part of it is.
Yeah.
What lessons we learned. And so if we come back that way, we have a kind of a roadmap to stay out of the bar ditch.
Exactly.
And
sometimes we end up there too, every now and then.
Sure we do.
You have such an incredible and craftful way, though, of getting to a story that, like you were describing with the mine, that maybe people didn't even know existed. Is that something you feel? You feel your way to the story? Or what is it? How do you find that nugget or that thing that really just turns it into a real fascinating, entertaining story?
Well, for about 20, 25 years, I lived in a bus. And I travel 250 days a year, all across this country, corner to corner and coast to coast. And I made it a point to stop at all of the historical markers that I could see. And the bus driver would sometimes hide them from me. So
You'd be like, no, none to see here, Red. We're going to keep going.
but if I would read about the area where we were going, especially in the Intermountain West, where I spent a lot of time playing rodeos and fairs.
Yeah.
And so I would read everything I could about the people who lived there. So if I saw a sign coming up that this was a ranch that had a historical value or a fort that had a military value, we'd stop because I allowed time to do that. And a lot of the guys on the bus all those years would just get a big kick out of going with me. But some of them would stay on the bus and sleep.
Yeah.
So I felt sorry for the ones
They
who
missed
didn't
out.
learn anything. You know,
Yeah.
because we might not come back this way again.
Yeah. Very true.
And so when I started doing this show, I remembered all those places. There were several trails that came.
Now, the way that you do all of this had to be something that started very young for you.
Your direction in life is really governed by your mother. And you may use your daddy as a guideline later on as teenagers, and after that, it's your mother that that makes the stamp on you. And my mother was a school teacher, and the most important thing she taught me was how to speak and spell properly. And I can go out somewhere and talk to anybody in the world, you know, and I can talk their language, or I know how to speak and spell properly. And I'll be forever indebted to her for that. We lived on the south side of the Canadian River. The bluffs were about 300 feet high, and the river was about a mile wide with about that much water in it. But I'd sit up there on that bluff, and I could look down that river, and in my mind I could see it lined out with teepees, you know, a mile long. So one day I'm going up the trail with Colonel Goodnight to Dodge City, and the next day I'm fighting the White Eyes with Quanah Parker.
Yeah.
You know, and I know that that's where the things I have a passion for evolved from that time in my childhood.
Right.
And my ability to dream and see things in my mind. You know, Gail says that I have a fertile imagination, which means that I'm full of it.
That's the most elegant way I've heard that put.
Aren't we all just a little bit, you know?
And as he grew up, he became a trader, a hunter, a guide, and a scout. The cowboy exhibits the three things that everybody thinks they want to own. Individualism, honesty, independence. And you know that they want to ride off in the sunset on that beautiful paid horse, the way the cowboy does in the movies.
Right. And be the hero.
And be the hero and kiss the good girl.
Yeah, exactly. Red, thank you again. That was a special interview. Coming up, Red shares his poetry. But first,
Right now, I'm just kind of adding highlight to certain areas.
let's head to the Western Collective in Fort Worth to see artist Lyndon Gaither in action.
Follow your heart to Waco, Texas, home of the famous Magnolia Silos, Cameron Park Zoo, Baylor University, Dr. Pepper Museum, BSR Cable Park, and so much more. Enjoy the arts, historical sites, outdoor nature, entertainment, music, food, drinks, and events in a diverse, welcoming place you'll find yourself coming back to again and again.
Welcome back to the Dixie Chicken. You know, a lot of traditional Western art uses brown tones. Lyndon Gaither puts color into the canvas of his contemporary Western art that creates a whole new way of looking at the culture.
Believe it or not, I painted in sepia tone,
Oh,
brown, no color, just totally brown,
which is the complete opposite.
which is the complete opposite. My wife says that this is my midlife crisis, you know.
Yeah,
And
it's a pretty good one to have though,
Yeah.
I would say. Lyndon Gaither's art is magnetic.
When I start a painting, I always paint the eyes first.
Why is that?
That's because if you've ever looked at a horse in the eyes, you can tell pretty much what that horse is.
Yeah, what kind of
Thank you.
horse it is.
Yeah, what kind of horse it is,
Yeah.
what kind of mood it's in. It just feels like that's the soul of the horse.
He's always been artistic, even designing amusement parks in a past life. But something about this was always inside.
I was born in Lubbock, Texas, out in the Panhandle. My dad had a farm in Plainview, which is about 50 miles from Lubbock. Watched Roy Rogers, Lone Ranger, Bonanza, all those great Western classics.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, it just kind of stuck with me.
Much like those West Texas plains, it's where he finds peace.
I just kind of get lost in the painting, don't think about anything else. Put some country and Western music on and just paint. Then when I'm finished, I've got something that I'm proud of.
He starts with a sketch, then fills in the painting stroke by stroke. Seems like art always has some type of message or voice. So what do you feel like your voice is, and what are you trying to communicate through your art and what you do?
As far as the Western community, of course that's what I focus on. And that's what I grew up being. And so that's kind of continued throughout my lifetime. Being that person or takes care of the animals, that respects the animals. Personally, I don't own a horse. These are my horses. The bad thing is you can't ride them.
Yeah, that's true. In your mind.
Yeah.
In your mind
Right,
you can.
right.
And it all started with an idea to make the Western world as colorful on canvas as it is in real life. Not bad.
That's great.
You can stop by the Western Collective at Ramblin' Trails in Fort Worth to bring home some of his art, or go to lgaither.com to commission a piece. Up next, Red's Poetry. But first, when we come back, let's head to the Cowboy Capital of the world to meet a hat maker keeping the tradition alive.
People are choosing the Brazos Valley to launch, grow, and locate their companies every single day. But in the Brazos Valley, our most valuable asset is talent. And their skills, their drive, their character speaks loudest.
James Andrae was a hat maker's apprentice under the late Sammy Catalina, who's very well known around these parts as a community leader and was the owner of Catalina Hatters. Well, James now has a thriving custom hat shop in the cowboy capital of the world, Stephenville, Texas. And hopefully one day he'll pass on the art to his boys. Creasing a custom hat came natural for James Andrae, so he opened up Capital Hatters, where South Loop 377 and 281 meet.
I knew Stephenville was a good spot for it. There's a lot of, cowboys around there, not only rodeo cowboys, but just, hardworking people. Your thinking is get them while they're there, and then keep them when they leave,
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
So once you've got them, you've got them. You just have to take care of them.
Now it's a family business with wife Kim and boys Slade and Sloan. And your oldest son is already interested in hat making. That's got to be a joy to see, bringing him into the shop and him enjoying it.
It is. He loves to come to the hat shop. He'd come up there and stay with me every day if he could. But, and he does most days after he gets out of school. So, but I've got pictures of him when he was a little bitty, just standing there watching me.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's neat.
Start him young.
Start him young, yeah, and don't burn them out.
Exactly.
Where are y'all from?
I am wondering, there's a lot of people moving from California and other places. You're getting a lot of first timers that are like, I'm in Texas now, I need a hat.
We do. And Stephenville is, it seems to be a spot where everybody gravitates to.
Yeah.
Stephenville, Cowboy Capital of the world, so everybody knows about it, and especially the California, Nevada, and all out through there. So it's really a hot spot for people moving in.
Yeah.
And the Western attire is so much better here in Texas than it is out there. So we get a lot of people that just stop by, never been in a custom hat shop before in their life, and you know, they're somewhat overwhelmed with what we can offer. But it's fun dealing with them.
Yeah.
You know, they're good people. And,
We don't mind your accent.
no, we don't mind. But
Their staples, black and silver belly hats, straw for spring, and a statement hat never goes out of style. What has been the most rewarding part of this business to you?
I like dealing with the customers, teach them about hats, and you know, take them through the shop and explain to them what we're doing and how we're doing it and why we're doing it. And our shop's an open shop all the time. Anybody can come through the back doors and walk around the shop.
You'll spot Capital Hatters on the circuit of the most talented rodeo athletes, but their work is always homemade and homegrown.
You know, they're professional athletes, and you know, they're wearing our hats. They're on TV, and you know, you can look and say, hey, we built that, and there it is right there on TV, and the kids get a kick out of that too. So
That's one of Daddy's hats.
Yeah.
I see it.
you know, just work hard and love what you're doing.
Soon you're gonna show us how it's
Howdy guys, and welcome back right here to the Dixie Chicken. You know, right behind me is where Don Gaither and Donnie Ants used to play their very own records to have the music and have the soundtrack here of the Dixie Chicken almost 50 years ago. And it's been so great to keep up with these records. They're actually all at our office right now, and I had the chance to go through them just last year. And you can always tell the records that were used the most because Don will do something really cool. He would just put a Dixie Chicken bumper sticker right around it so you knew exactly where it was from. And you could really tell the old records that were used so much because he would actually buy a ton of new records. So we've got like 7 copies of Jerry Jeff Walker's Viva Terra Lingua because he wanted to make sure if one of those got messed up, if there was a scratch on one of them, he had another couple ready to go right then and there. You know, it's music like that that has brought people together here at the Dixie Chicken for, again, almost 50 years. We want to hear your music stories, and we want to hear your stories of the Dixie Chicken in general. You can always email us and go online to DixieChicken.com.
Thanks, Adam. And be sure to follow us on social media and at TexasVoicesShow.com. Before we go, Red shares his poetry. In fact, it's George W. Bush's favorite poem, The Fence That Me and Shorty Built. We'll see you next time.
When I was a youngster, I spent 5 summers on my uncle's farm up in northwestern Iowa. And I know without a shadow of a doubt that I learned more in those 5 summers than I have in the rest of my life put together. And the most important lesson I learned was one morning we were on our way to a field about 1.5 miles from headquarters. And as we're driving down the highway, my uncle, kind of to himself, looked out his side of the window and he said, I'd give anything in the world if Mr. Cornwall would have those boys plow those rows straight. I looked over on his side and all I could see was the next stalk. I looked over on our side and I could see all the way through every single row, all the way to the end of the field. And I very foolishly said, Uncle Floyd, what difference does it make? Corn's in the ground, it's going to grow anyhow. He turned around to me with those cold blue German eyes and he said, it makes a difference to me. I'm a farmer. This is what I do. I want to be the best I can possibly be. Well, the neighbor kid had a John Deere, Poppin' Johnny, and I always loved that tractor, and he wouldn't even let me kick the tires, much less drive it. And so my uncle knew how much I liked John Deere, so he bought me a book on John Deere. And there was one line that I never forgot. In 1856, John Deere said, I will never put my name on a product that's not as good as the best in me. From that experience going to that field that morning and that line from John Deere's book came this poem years later. We'd picked up all the fencing tools and staples off the road. An extra roll of barbed wire was the last thing left to load, and I drew a sleeve across my face to wipe away the dirt, and the young man who was helping me was tucking in his shirt. I turned around to him and said, this fence is finally done. 5 new strands of barbed wire shining proudly in the sun. And the wire, it's running straight and tight with every post in line. The kind of job you're proud of, one that stands the test of time. The kid was not impressed at all, stared off into space. Reminded me of years ago, another time and place when I called myself a cowboy. I was full of buck and ball, and I didn't think my hands would fit post augers in a mall. But they sent me out with Shorty and the ranch fence building crew. I was quite insulted, and before the day was through, I let him know that I'm a cowboy. This ain't what I do. I ain't no dad-burn nester. I hard out to buckaroo. He said, we'll talk about that, son, when we get in tonight, but right now you pick them augers up. It's either that or fight. Oh, I was digging post holes faster than a Georgia mole. But if a rock got in my way, I simply moved the hole. So when the Cowboys set the post, the line went in and out, and old Shorty's face got fiery red, and I can hear him shout, nobody but a fool would build a fence that isn't straight. And I got no use for someone who ain't pulling his own weight. I thought for sure he'd hit me. Glad he didn't have a gun. I turned around to find a place where I could duck and run. But Shorty walked up to me just as calm as he could be. Said, son, I need to talk to you. Let's find ourselves a tree. Well, he rolled a Bull Durham cigarette as we sat on the ground, took himself a puff or two, then slowly looked around. Son, I ain't much on schooling. Never got too far with that. But there's a lot of learning hidden underneath this hat. And I got it all the hard way. Every bump and bruise and fall. Sure, some of it was easy, but son, most weren't fun at all. But one thing that I've always got from every job I've done is do the best I can each day and try to make it fun. And I know that busting through them rocks ain't what you like to do, but getting mad, you've made it tough on me and all the crew. And sure, you hard out to cowboy. You think you've got the stuff. And you told him you're a good hand, and the boss has called your bluff. So how's that going to make you look when he comes riding through, and he asks me, who dug them holes? And I say it was you. Now, we could let it go like this, take the easy route, but doing things the easy way ain't what it's all about. Because the boss expects a job well done from every man he's hired. He'll let you slide by once or twice, and one day you'll get fired. Because if you're not proud of what you do, you won't amount to much. You'll bounce around from job to job, just slightly out of touch. Come morning, let's redig those holes and get that fence in line. And you and I will save 2 jobs, those being yours and mine. And someday you'll come riding through, you'll look across this land, see a fence that's laid out straight, and know you had a hand in something that's withstood the years. And then proud and free from guilt, you'll smile and say, boys, that's the fence that me and Shorty built.
Sometimes I get a little too loud on the mic. It's, you know, I was born that way. Yeah, I get excited. Could you see the spit coming out of my mouth?
Holmes. 2. I couldn't tell if he was laughing or coughing.
Was that good? Do I need to do it over? Okay. All right, I'll do it one more time.
Safely rediscover why you fell in love with Waco. Arts, culture, great local food, attractions, and the people. Please wear a mask for our safety and yours. A mask belongs on your face. Your heart belongs here.